like a craft beer through a pint glass. These are the gays of our lives. A show where Lisa and Avery get out their gay decoder rings to decipher the gay alphabet and bridge the gap between the older and younger LGBTQ community and everyone fucking else. And now here are your hosts, Lisa and Avery. Don't blame them.
Okay.
Hey guys, it's Lisa.
And Avery.
And today on The Gays of Our Lives,
We have Michael Swinford of #Bolt Theater.
Hi there.
Sorry, I really like the Bolt thing. Sorry.
That's all right.
definitely like,
That's all right.
especially the logo. That's pretty good. Can you explain what the Bolt Theater is?
Yeah, it's BOLT stands for Be Out Loud Theater. And this was an idea that came to me probably over many beers, day drinking, about 15 years ago.
As all brilliant ideas
Yeah,
start.
yeah. And I had a really dear friend who unfortunately has passed away now. But I remember that day distinctly. We both were doing a lot of theater, a lot of performing, and we were doing a lot of gay stuff. And, you know, it was like one of those things like, oh, nobody does this right. Too bad we don't have our own place, and we would do this and we would do that. And then he said, well, why don't you just do it? And flash forward to last year. And I don't know, I actually can't tell you why I started it or what was the impetus at that moment, but I said, I'm going to do this, and did it in his honor, and we took off. Yeah, so Be Out Loud is be out loud, as we have always wanted to do and wanted to be.
Out loud and proud.
Yeah. And then Be Out Loud Theater kind of made a word, so that was an accident.
That was an accident. I love anagrams.
It's a great accident.
Yeah.
Eagle. That's not even cool as Bolt. So, first of all, where are you located?
We don't have our own space now, but
Okay.
we rent spaces. I've rented. So far, we've only performed at the District Theater on Mass Avenue, 627 Mass Avenue.
What a great place to like work out of, though, as like
Well,
community
yeah,
organization.
and the cool thing is, I was on staff when that used to be theater on
I was
the
going to
square.
ask, is that what?
Yeah.
Okay, because I
was-
performed there with Angel Burlesque that one
Oh
time.
yeah. With
Okay, so that was
That's
how the
with Katie Angel.
Yes, I love Katie Angel. Yeah. They took my shirt off me on stage.
There you go. That's what
well,
they do
if they
there.
didn't do it, you would have done it yourself.
That's true. But to be fair, it's my only standing ovation. But you know what? I'll take it.
Right. But yeah, and I worked with Ron Spencer, who taught me everything. And he retired, and I guess that's kind of what was the impetus was. I mean, that niche kind of went away with him, and Theater on the Square, as it was with the new staff and new board of directors, kind of floundered a little bit, and it actually closed. And some people said, you know what, we have to have a performance space in this building, and it's been saved. And
It's a great space.
yeah, it's a fantastic, and you know, the second stage, the little space.
Yeah.
I mean, I was on staff, and you talk about blood, sweat, and tears. Not just me, but we were performing a show that night, and I was building that floor, like literally building it.
Wow.
I have a scar on my elbow. It was
in the little theater up there?
Yeah. And that's what we did. So it was like a home base for so many people. And Bolt kind of came out of that. I mean, I wanted to give people a safe space to see our stories on stage.
So is it all gay actors and gay material, or is it just gay actors, any material, or just gay material, any actors?
Boom, that one, the last one. C.
We knew we'd get there.
I knew I'd get there.
E, all of the above. Wait.
No, I mean, it would be foolish to say I'm only hiring LGBT people. I mean, because I don't think that's fair, but it is definitely 100% all LGBT material.
That's really cool. Honestly, only because so when I was growing up, that's like the 90s. That wasn't really present for me from where I grew up.
What's that?
Really like gay material being presented on stage in front of, like really publicly. So to me, that's just so cool that you've even you have an organization that can go out and go into different theaters.
That was my goal, because and I was kind of joking earlier with you, it's like, during the 90s, I feel like that is what all I did. Every gay show that was in town, I would get a phone call saying, "Hey, Michael, do you want to come and read for this part? Or do you want to do that?" And I was I made a career out of it.
Yeah.
And, at that time, it was really trendy to have a naked gay guy in a show. And I joked that I was naked for most of the 90s on stage. And, and that was a two-edged sword. People only saw you in those characters. So if I wanted to go audition for something else, they would say, "Oh, but
totally typecasted."
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
So guess what? Years later, I said, I'm going to embrace this. And guess what? I have a following. I have people that come and see my shows because of stuff that I did before. So I'm 100% proud of that. Bolt wouldn't be around if I hadn't done those shows. So it all worked out.
Now, and forgive me for being naive about this, are there really that many gay shows to produce?
Sure, there are.
Really?
I mean, if you wanted to get really technical about it, you could go back to the Greek tragedies, to Shakespeare. But there's so much material out there. And it's actually, it was hard. The first show that we produced was a year ago, January. And because of the mission of the company, it had to be exactly right. And I picked a Tennessee Williams play that it was never produced in his lifetime. There's evidence that he worked on it from like 1953 up until his death in the 80s. Because they tracked it through hotel stationery. He would type on hotel stationery.
Oh, okay.
And so that was interesting. But this show was called Tell Sad Stories of the Death of Queens. And it was, in interviews, he said, this was the precursor to Streetcar Named Desire, only with a transgender male to female, in the Blanche role. But it was almost the same play. And was not produced in his lifetime because of the subject matter. And I read the script and got chills because everything it talks about is happening right now. I mean, it was timeless. I mean, there was ageism. There was discrimination because he was living as a woman. Mm-hmm. There was the bad guy who he picks up, who wants to be with him but he only loves him because he's a woman.
Yeah.
And he's not. And I mean, there's the two, for lack of a better word, funny little twinks that live upstairs, and they were the comic relief. And
I like the chorus, yeah.
That's the way. I mean, I'm like, you could do this play modern times, and it would still be happening, and that's why it was perfect.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's still happening.
Yeah.
But
it had Tennessee Williams language, and it was Southern, and it was awesome.
Yeah. I really want to read that. But that's so cool.
But it. And then, my goal is, as I was saying before, I want to give a voice to our shared experiences. Part of that is honoring the history that came before us. Mm-hmm. I think that gets lost a lot.
Absolutely, it does. And young people don't know.
Right. I mean, this show was written. They think he started it in 1953, so that's a long time ago, and that's pre-Stonewall and gay rights and all that stuff. And so that tells me, we've been at this for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. My generation and everybody's, but I'm in my 50s, so the AIDS generation is kind of what people know the 80s from and my generation from. And it's a sad thing that it has to be that. So I want to find something that kind of speaks to that. I think that's because it is part of what I lived and part of what we're living now. I think it needs to be talked to. Also because things have changed.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, things have changed. It's not a death sentence anymore. Mm-hmm. And which is brilliant, but I don't want that part of history to be lost.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, okay, so you are a gay man, obviously.
Well,
or not.
I haven't had a date for a really, really long time, so that's questionable.
I get that.
But yes.
So you're asexual like me?
Not by choice, but yeah.
Okay. So how long ago did you come out?
Oh my God, I don't even remember not being out.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I never had, and sometimes I'm kind of upset about it. Like, I want that movie moment, you know?
Where you came out and it was
Mom,
shattered.
Dad, I have something to tell you. But I never had that moment because I don't know why I didn't have that moment. I mean,
It just was.
it just the way it was. I mean, I had a girlfriend who I still love dearly in high school. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe because I've always been involved in theater, like,
It was just like, oh yeah, duh.
yeah, and I don't know. It was never a big deal. I did before it was legal get married. Had a wedding ceremony on stage at the Old Phoenix Theater, and I thought, well, I've never had that conversation with my family or anything, so I probably need to let them know this is happening because I was pretty public, or I still am pretty public. So I thought they're going to hear about it. So I decided the best way to do it is just send them an invitation to the wedding without telling them anything.
There you go.
That was
Hey,
really
that's subtle.
stupid.
That's subtle.
Yeah, and it was pink because it was the 90s. It was pink and it had like a pink triangle on it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, this is so, like, yeah.
So gay.
It was so gay and so bad. I'm like, what a horrible thing. But the cool thing was,
Were they perfectly okay with it?
My sister came. No, nobody else came, and they were totally okay with it. My mom said, "No, I think your brother might be having a little bit of trouble with it because we were raised like twins." But he's like my best buddy now. I mean, and his daughter and his wife are great. So I have a lot of respect for people that had to go through that moment because it's a big deal. Mm-hmm. It's a huge deal, and everybody has a different story. And I think that's fascinating. You know, some turn out good, some turn out bad. Hopefully, you know, with being more accepted now, hopefully the kids won't have that horrible part anymore. You know what I mean? Maybe they'll be a little more welcome.
Like we always say, put a face to the monster.
Well,
yeah.
We've said that so many
But
times.
honestly, I like to
It's
think
true.
that, like, I mean, don't worry, I think there's always going to be hard case scenarios, but I like to think they're fewer and far between now. Because I
agree.
will say, I had to come out twice, but coming out the second time was way easier than coming
Why
out.
did you come out twice?
Well, I'm trans, so
Okay,
when
all
I
right.
came out gay,
Got you. All right.
that was a little rough. But then
Okay.
when I came out trans, my family was like, okay. And then they took some time to kind of swallow that. And I think that it's, you know, but we're talking maybe an 8-year gap.
Okay,
And this
yeah.
time was way easier. So I like to think that while I'm sure there are hard case scenarios out there,
Sure.
it's just fewer and farther between.
Well, and I think in our generation now, or what's happening now, I mean, I know that it was really hard for people to walk up to their parents and say, hey, I'm gay.
Yeah.
Now I can't imagine, you know, having to tell your parents, hey, I want to tell you, I think I'm the wrong sex. I mean,
Yeah.
that's giant.
That is.
That's a lot more courage than I think I would have ever had. I mean, I really do. I admire that so
Don't want to
much.
toot my own horn or anything. No, I think no, but I think that
Really?
I think that, you know, there's courage, but then I think we've had enough trans people on the show say that, you know, it comes down to a choice of you're either going to tell people or you're gonna die.
And live or
'Cause it's
die.
Like,
Yeah.
Because it's like you just, I
Yep,
mean, because it's
yep.
the same with if you couldn't date the person you love. You know what I mean? It's like you're either just gonna be unhappy to a point where you're gonna die, or you know.
Yeah.
Well, and unfortunately, every trans person that we've had on, I'm almost positive every one of them
Everyone, literally everyone.
have tried to commit suicide.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I honestly, I think at least 4 of the 5 have had the semicolon tattoo.
Oh,
as well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
but
like-
it's just like, you know, you come out to your parents or to these people, or you end up killing yourself, and
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
like, there. To me, there's no option.
Well, and that's talking about
you know what I mean?
Talking about the theater company, like trying to choose material.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody at first was like, "Oh, do Boys in the Band," and that was on a revival was on Broadway at the time, and you couldn't do it. But I read that script, and it was written in the '70s, I believe, and actually the author just passed away. It's one of the most historical LGBT pieces of theater, and the author died, I think, yesterday or today.
Oh no.
Wow.
But I read it and I'm like, it's a lot because it was a different time period. There was a lot of self-loathing. And I didn't want that to, I mean, sure, that was a part of what it was to be gay at that time. But I didn't want that to be the first impression of my company. I want to be inclusive. And I don't want to immediately push that button, you know?
Right. I mean,
sure.
don't get me wrong. Like, as you guys get further on, I mean, you can accomplish so much more. But I get that your first impression, you wanted to like really represent the project you are trying to do.
Absolutely. And the characters, like I said, there's a transgender person. There's the big bad guy. There's the two younger gays upstairs. I mean, it had every element of things, and it was so relevant. I mean, from 1953 to last year, I mean, it's like none.
That's amazing.
First of all, has anything really changed? Which it kind of like a little bit, but the issues are still there. I mean,
are they just plays or musicals also?
Right now, just plays. I am not a singer, so
So just plays.
I mean, but yeah, and I'm not opposed to that. Hopefully, I'm going to be able to get to the point where I can bring people in, so I don't have to direct everything, which would be great. And people want that. I mean, other directors and stuff have approached me, but it's like, this is brand new, and I need to have my hands on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a new baby, you know what I
get
mean?
that.
It's like, you don't just let anybody hold your new baby.
Right.
Coronavirus is real.
Right.
Did you see it just hit
That's-
Avon?
It hit Marion County like 2 days ago. I know because I had to watch
The
a
Avon
bunch of
School
videos.
District.
Yeah.
They're closing down an Avon school. Yeah.
Well, it's like I mean, I'm not discounting that it's important that we know about it,
Yeah.
but
But I think they're making a little bit out
They
of it.
are, and it's
I
the-
mean, we had the AIDS epidemic, and then we had, the flu's killed more people.
yeah, and the
I
Zika
don't know.
virus, is that something?
Well,
Zika.
well,
I mean, every year there's something.
Yeah,
Concern-
exactly.
I mean, okay, so part of me, I swear this is all I'm talking about, the coronavirus. This is it. But from what I understand, the main concern is how long you can have it and be infectious and not know that you have it. That's really the main concern with the coronavirus, because that's how it spreads faster, and then you do get it to the people who do get sick and die. But then the other side of it is like, people aren't looking at the statistics of where it's really mostly people over like 60 who are really having the health struggles with
Yeah, or
it.
somebody with a compromised immune system,
Yep.
or children. And I'm not saying that don't think about it and take precautions, but it's like,
Wash your hands.
Well,
wash your hands. Wash your damn
Coming
hands.
through
Don't touch your
LAX,
face,
they
wash your
say
hands,
LAX is one of the big hubs.
Yeah.
Because so many people from other
everywhere.
countries come in. And so many people had masks on. And
Did you have a mask on?
no, but 75% of those people halfway through the flight or something would have that mask down here. And I'm like,
What's the point?
Well, doesn't the mask?
Don't
they said the mask doesn't really help.
it doesn't.
you.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I
went to look for a hand sanitizer yesterday at Dollar General. None.
Cleaned out.
Zero.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I was like, oh, should I worry about this when I'm flying, especially with my health and stuff? And I was like, yeah. And so I got some Clorox wipes, and I pulled out a little thing of hand sanitizer that clips to your belt, and I took that with me in my fanny pack, and I was like gonna wipe down the chair before I sat in it. And by the time I sat down, I was like, I'm just gonna use my hand sanitizer on my hands, and there we go.
I agree.
And you know what?
Yeah.
I went to a ton of poker rooms, and guess what's in poker rooms?
Chips.
Foreigners and chips and money.
Yeah.
And, that could just go like wildfire
Well, and think
there.
about how
And,
dirty money is. I mean,
that's what they were saying. A lot of it's being passed like that. And I was in a casino, a couple of them.
At Starbucks, we have all these new protocols because, like, literally, like, we have, like, all these, not to call them anal because I respect the institution I work for, but we have to, like, wash our hands every 30 minutes now, or, like, anytime you handle money, which, if you're working the cash register, is every 54 seconds. And so
for 20 seconds at a time.
Yeah.
To wash.
Right.
I mean,
but there also is a handy dandy sheet of music lyrics up that last 20 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. But still, I mean, you said every 54 seconds?
Yeah, but the great thing is that the
And you're
hand
waiting.
soap also has lotion in it, so your hands don't dry out.
See, that's my problem, especially being at the casino, because
Oh,
I was
yeah.
washing them a ton.
I bet.
And my hands are so dry.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always washed my hands a lot, but I mean, extra.
I've always been a
extra.
dirty kid. I don't know.
Oh, I see. I always.
I walk out of Starbucks sticky as hell. Okay, but I'm also handling drinks. I'm not handling money, so it's a little different. But it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just don't get me wrong, the whole thing is just wash your hands and don't touch your face. But at the end of the day, it's like,
You don't tell me not to touch my face and it itches. You know that, right? It's just like,
Well, and they're
wait a
saying
minute, I got a hair.
shave your beards. I'm like,
Yeah.
no,
I look good with my beard.
I'm not going to do that.
You could get you a face scratcher, like they have back scratchers. You could just
There's
use
a
one
face
of those on your
scratcher.
face.
We could make a fortune right now.
Ooh, money.
I was actually going to invest in some of the
The Gays of Our Lives logo on it.
some of the companies like 3M
Yeah.
that were doing the mask. I was looking to invest in some of those before I left for LA because I knew it was going to get bigger. And
Yeah.
they just did we're so off subject. They just did a fashion show overseas. One of the Louis Vuitton or somebody big, I don't know, did a closed caption fashion show, no audience, just on film because they didn't want the coronavirus
Right,
because it was
and-
overseas. And I'm like,
Well, it's really bad overseas though. Like
Well, I know,
Italy,
but that's
what is it, like
just-
a third of their.
Well, like rugby and soccer games are being televised with no people.
yeah,
in
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And somebody said, it's going to happen here too, where concerts
Yeah.
and NCAA, it's going to end up like that here too. And I was just like,
Well, until they start quarantining people,
wow.
then people
Yeah.
will start worrying. You know what I mean?
But I mean, wow.
I agree.
That's-
like, I don't know what to think about it.
Yeah.
We're
Just wash
so
your
off
hands.
subject.
That's-
I'm so sorry.
Okay, sorry. So
yeah,
reeling
wash
it
your
back.
hands, please.
Wash your hands. Don't touch your face.
Rubber up.
Coronavirus. Hashtag coronavirus.
I don't know. I don't know if it's transferred that way, but rubber up.
Anyway, back to hashtag Bolt.
Hi.
So are you from Indianapolis originally?
I was born in Anderson, Indiana, about an hour north.
I'm sorry.
And it was a good place to grow up.
I'm kidding.
It was
Grew
a,
up in Beach Grove.
Shut up.
yeah, really.
Before Walmart.
But I grew up there, and I kind of I went to Ball State.
Nice.
Tweet.
Chirp,
I-
Yeah, I was going to say, I started to say tweet, tweet.
Wrong
It's a
company.
bird.
But,
It's a bird.
Then, yeah, and then I lived in Florida for a while. I was in Denver for a little while. But I always come back to Indianapolis. I mean, and talking about Bolt, it's like that last year, there was a choice, and it wasn't, nobody told me I had to make a choice, but I told myself, it's like, I want to move back to Florida, and that was in my head. I'm gonna make this move because I love it there. I love the beach. There's a town in particular that I love, and that was my thing. Then somebody came up with some money and said, "Hey, I think you should maybe think about this. I would like to invest in your theater company." The same day that I was thinking about this, and I'm like, boom.
And that's the way the world works.
What I thought was, you know what? The people that go to see theater and the gay community of Indianapolis, they've been really, really freaking good to me over the years. And I feel like I owed this. I needed to give something back.
Yeah.
And, the goal is in a few years to be able to say, you know what? I'm going to walk away and I want to give this to you. I want to leave. I don't just want to walk away from this city and from what I've done. I want to leave something behind that makes it a little
And
bit
you're
better.
really producing a legacy with this too that has your name
So
all over
far.
Well, you're
Yeah.
trying, right?
Yeah, and it's,
That's awesome.
And there's they call it show business for a reason. I mean, I can do a show right now, but the business
There's a
part,
business part,
the
for
business
sure.
part I'm not really great at, and I'll be the first to admit that. And people, what I have
A
found,
lot of people don't get that. That's with all forms of entertainment.
Comedy
Comedy
especially,
especially.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, and it's
I'm
like-
obnoxious
'Cause
on
you can-
social media, but I have to be.
you have to
Because,
be.
I mean, you can be the funniest person in the room, but you're still not going to make the most money unless you have the other business
Yep.
end of it too.
And
And
you
it's
got
the same with the acting.
Absolutely, because
Well,
I'm not the funniest person.
And
That's
I
for
have found,
sure.
I have found that a lot of people, they get excited about it. They're like, "Oh, I want to be a part of it," and they promise you so much stuff, and then it doesn't happen.
Yep.
And so there's been a couple. I'm not gonna lie, this hasn't been
Podcast.
all rainbow flags and happy times. It's been really frustrating at times, and to the point where I'm like, screw this, I'm done, and disappointment in people.
Yeah.
But I have to keep thinking back to the majority of the community.
Is good.
They're good, and they supported it. English Ivies threw up.
They're amazing.
They threw a fundraiser for me.
They're great.
And it was their biggest night as a bar that they had, and we raised a ton of money. And people came forward, not with like, "Oh, here's $10," like checks. And
That's nice.
Yeah. But the thing is, people think, well, okay, you made all this money. Well, a show costs a lot of money to do.
Yeah, production is-
And so it's every time kind of starting again. And that's when people say, "Oh, I'll help you out. I'll join." And some are better at it than others, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's Lisa with The Gays of Our Lives, and this week's episode is sponsored by my own CBD line through Denver CBD. It's actually the first one in town here that has vitamin D in it, and it's also helping with different causes. The strawberry flavor, 5% goes to cancer support community. The orange flavor, 5% goes to the National MS Society. Use my code Lisa20 and get 20% off your order. So it's hashtag Bolt. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Be Out Loud Theater.
And is that on Instagram?
I'm not on Instagram. There's a Be Out Loud Theater Facebook page.
Okay.
And I Instagram a lot. I don't have an account set up for Bolt yet.
Okay. We have a segment that we like to call Gays Ask.
Hashtag gays ask.
Yeah. Hashtag Gays Ask.
You have to say that carefully.
Hashtag Gays Ask.
With a K.
All three.
You have to be very careful. Because you'll get the wrong kind of plant.
Right? You're
right.
gonna get really random hashtags. Right.
I should probably look at those hashtags, make sure nobody's trying to get a hold of us. So, got a question. If you had to lose one, either an arm or a leg, which one would you choose?
Arm or a leg.
Ah, right. I got asked that.
good.
Yeah, I got asked that the other day.
Oh my God. Probably a leg.
That's what I said.
A leg?
Yeah, because
exactly
they
what I
can
said.
put a prosthetic on it and
And then you're like pretty much,
you're
yeah.
good to go. With your arm,
Using
though.
a
it's like-
prosthetic arm and hands and
Yeah, but
fingers
they
and
have them
stuff.
that look like superhero.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
don't know how
I could
easy
look
that
like
would be.
Iron Man.
I don't know how easy that would be to use compared to a leg. I mean,
Yeah.
you just the motion of moving the leg compared to having you don't use your toes to pick things up. You don't have to worry about
You've
moving.
also had to readjust your walk before, though, so you already know. That
Correct.
You can
That's
do
what I
that.
said. Well, I've gone without both,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I choose
yeah.
definitely the leg to go without.
The leg.
No,
Yeah,
I
for
get
sure.
that.
Hopefully neither.
Honestly, I think I'm saying arm just because I want an Iron Man arm.
Well, you could just get one. And just put it.
Right? I could just put my hand in a glove,
Yeah,
probably,
yeah.
if I really wanted to simplify the process.
Yeah.
Okay, if you could be on any reality TV show,
I hate reality TV shows, so I would say none.
do you want to pick a talk show?
Ellen.
You know what? Maybe Ellen, or I love Stephen Colbert. I love Stephen Colbert.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
he's
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
That's
His
good.
new night show is way better than the Steve Colbert show was. It is like I love him as like a night time host.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's just he's not in that like Republican character he carried for so long.
Right, right. It's just
He's
him.
like-
Yeah. And he's funny. He's super gay friendly. I mean, you kind of learn stuff at the same time as you're laughing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
If you could have dinner with anybody, who would it be and why?
Wow. That's a big question. Dinner with anyone. This is going to be probably a stereotypical answer, but I would love to have dinner with President Obama.
You know, we haven't had Obama
No,
yet.
we have not.
I really would. I
haven't.
think that he's brilliant. I think he's one of the most fair people that's ever been. And I just want to hear him talk.
Talk about a great conversation. too.
Yeah,
Like,
that's-
he,
yeah.
he could probably literally talk about anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
why. There's so many, though. Colin Farrell for a whole different reason.
Is that a different kind of dinner then? No.
Yeah.
That's hashtag gays ass.
At hashtag Gays Ask.
Gays ask.
So if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Reading minds.
Really?
Yeah.
Telepathy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because then you wouldn't
You
get
could rule the world.
and you wouldn't get screwed around.
No, you wouldn't. I
That's
didn't
true.
even.
That's
Right.
true.
That's a
That's
good
true.
one.
That's a good
Right.
one.
Yeah.
I had someone say they would switch their handwriting at will the other day, and I'm like,
But you can kind of already do that.
right?
I mean, you can.
I'm like, you could just practice really, but I was just asking people around because I wanted to see what kind of answers I got.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody said that one to me the other day. I thought that was really
well,
strange.
like I practice, for whatever reason, I practice doing stuff with my left hand because I'm
in
right-handed.
case you lose your right arm.
Right, and I would have to have a robot arm like you want,
Yeah.
but I would
And
already
you
know how
probably
to
can't write with your robot arm.
Right. So I just I'll do things with my left hand just because. So I'm not worried about that.
we appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you having me. This is so
thank you
fun.
so much,
Like, I want to
and-
come back again.
For sure,
Oh, yeah,
for sure.
100. Especially next time you're producing something that we can really
Yeah.
talk about.
Yeah,
If you're standing
absolutely.
Right now we could talk about.
I'm not.
Okay.
The next show is coming up in the spring.
Oh yeah, we would love to have you back on before then, just so we could really like put out that information. That'd be
I
awesome.
would love that.
sure, for
yeah,
sure.
And
Thank you
can
so much.
Follow me on Facebook. It's Be Out Loud Theater. Or you can go to my page on Facebook. It's Michael Swinford, and there's a link to it. And Instagram is Misha, MISHA 1962.
Okay, we'll make sure to get those.
Okay.
If you guys want to be on our show, you can contact us at www.laughs.life.
Or you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, and TikTok-ish.
And it's really fun. Do
It's
it.
super fun.
Yeah, it's
Just
super
do it.
fun.
Hashtag just do it.
Just do it.
Hashtag
Okay?
gays ask.
Gays ask.
Get the K in there.
Get the K.
This has been Gays of Our Lives. Make sure to check out the gays online at www.laughs.life.